Guys, I found a post online. My friend Andrew actually sent it to me and said this would be a great segment for you guys to discuss on UCSS. And I saw it, and I get a lot of these requests, and most of them are erroneous. This one was a home run.
Erroneous and all.
This was a list that MGM put out, and I am not going to show you the list till the end, of the worst Browns head coach quarterback combinations since they moved back to Cleveland in 1999. They ranked their top 8 being the worst 8. And we are now, as Cleveland experts, going to rank the same 8 that they put in this graphic to see how closely MGM got to being right. For anyone
First of all, the fact that MGM is doing that tells you just how much of a dumpster fire this has been.
There are some dark days of Browns football.
My God. I'd forgotten some of these. I'll be honest with
you.
It's like when something traumatic happens to you, you wipe it out of your mind, and then it gets knocked back in by something. This was my PTSD that I just flashed back to some of these that I had been trying to forget.
I see Pat Shurmur's name, and I go,
just so everyone's on the same playing field, I'm going to read the 8 nominees in no particular order. Then we as a group are going to rank them. The 8 nominees in no particular order. You have Hugh Jackson and RG3 in 2016, Eric Mangini and Brady Quinn in 2009, Todd Monken and Deshaun Watson this season, Hugh Jackson and Deshaun Kaiser in 2017, Pat Shurmur and Colt McCoy in 2011, Rod Chudzinski and Brandon Weeden in 2013, Romeo Crennel and Charlie Fry in 2006, and Mike Pettin and Johnny Manziel in 2015. Anthony's on our tier maker system, so we are going to rank these.
Can I start the conversation? I think, to me, I think number 1's easy, the worst. Do we want to go?
No, we're going, 1 to 8. So the very worst to...
I nominate for your consideration Hugh Jackson and Deshaun Kaiser as the worst of those 8.
Well, that's the easy number 1, and it starts with Hugh was the worst coach of them all.
So he's got to be involved because he's also probably going to be my number 2.
And Deshaun was.
I'll play devil's advocate. Is Mike Pettin and Johnny Manziel not worse than Hugh and Deshaun?
They did win a game or 2 along the way.
Yeah.
Are we going by success on the field or just overall
just
dumpster
like our
fire?
memory?
This is your memory.
I just remember with Hugh Jackson and Deshaun Kaiser, I'm like, so we don't want to win. Which proved to be true.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question before we get to
the worst of the worst?
Isn't Friday supposed to be about good
vibes? I know.
Vibes,
we have some fun.
Energy. I'm getting out of here.
At this rate, we're going to drink all the 12 beers in front of us.
Keep it away from tall buildings today.
Yeah.
Because this is
we have locked
painful exercise.
We have locked in Hugh Jackson, Deshaun Kaiser.
I think so.
They went 0-15 together.
Chris has some dissent there. I mean, if you dissent, then it's
a dissent I'm not willing to die on.
You're not going to die on that hill.
Boy, it's
so number
it's
1
marginal.
we have Hugh Jackson and Deshaun Kaiser.
So what's the second worst quarterback head coach combo?
Now you bring up a great point in Pettin and Manziel because and both of them. What I love is like they throw darts at each other now. Like they've had beef, public beef. Mm-hmm. So that makes it even more sexy. But I think that for me, Hugh was such a disaster, and RG3 had great days ahead of, before he came here, but none while he was here. I would say that's number 2 for me too.
Yeah. Let me complete the circle by saying this. Hugh and Kaiser went 0-15 together. It wasn't 16 because he just thought that the rookie needed a day off. He gave it to Kevin Hogan, who was never heard from before or again. And you know who they lost to that day? Deshaun Watson. Just to complete that whole cycle.
It all
Who was a rookie.
Back.
Who was a rookie. And they got beat like 42 to they made it. Hogan threw some touchdowns at the end. But
little did we know that 8 years later, Watson would be in the running for that same award.
Yeah, and it's on he and Todd to prove it wrong, but they're on that
So do you want to put Hugh and RG3 at number 2, or is there someone else?
I mean, that year Cody Kessler played too. It wasn't just RG3. RG3 did play and ran read option the one game they won.
Yes, you're right. He did.
Yeah.
So where else do we go? At number 2.
I mean, we're split.
He makes a great. You make a great and very sound case. Great's the wrong word for Pettin but Chudzinski, who only lasted 1 year, and Brandon Weeden, who was overdrafted by 5 rounds.
That's number 3.
That's high.
Do you want to put that at number 3?
The highlight of Brandon Weeden's Brown career.
Getting stuck under the flag.
Getting stuck under the flag on the first game.
Yeah, and what was he, like 42 when we drafted him?
30.
But the Yankees thought well of him. They liked his arm.
Yeah.
So are we putting Chud and Weeden at number 3?
So I'm okay with this. If we put Hugh and Deshaun at 1, Hugh and RG3 at 2, and Chud and Brandon Weeden at 3, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I think that's fair.
And then I think your point of Pettine and Manziel, especially because of the confrontations and the social beef that they've had, I like putting them at number 4. You guys think that's okay?
If I remember correctly, and boy, this is a while back. The Browns team that Manziel was on was not an awful team. Manziel was just awful.
He made them an awful team.
He made them an awful team, but like they had a little momentum going under Mike Pettine.
No, I know they did.
Before the quarterbacks completely nuked it. So
are we good with
Are you guys
Manziel
good?
4?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
I'm not
with
good
5?
with any of this. But I'm okay.
Good is a loose term, very loose term.
So here's where it gets complicated.
Okay.
To me, Pat Shurmur is clearly the second worst coach they ever
Yep.
had here, and that includes Freddie Kitchens. It really does.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
he was pretty bad.
Colt. I mean, Colt's not near the bottom of this list.
No,
He's one of the better quarterbacks. on
Colt
this
was a backup
list.
in the league till like last year.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he
So
was where they were in their timeline at the time, that was a fine stab. They needed a guy.
So you're
Yeah.
putting them down lower, not
yeah,
number 5.
I want them. Well, yeah, I want them a little bit lower. Romeo and Charlie were not a good combo.
No, they weren't. But
And we
Fry
saw
had
that.
moments here, obviously.
Yeah.
Before that,
Yeah.
Well, the coin flip really decided that one.
I think that for me, and maybe I'm being too kind here, but I have a hard time putting Monken and Watson anything but number 8 because we haven't seen them.
Right, they're
I'm
unproven.
I don't
quantity.
know.
I think
What
I
if
think
they
that's
come
fair.
out and beat Jacksonville 41-13 and beat Tampa Bay?
I think that's very fair.
So I haven't seen
we
them.
lock
So
them
are
in
we
at
okay
8?
locking
Can
them
we
at
come
8?
back in 4 Fridays and put them at number 2?
We'll put them at 8. Put them at 8 with an
Lock
asterisk.
Watson
8 with an
Todd Monken
asterisk.
at
Yeah.
8 because I think that is unfair to put them anywhere else.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
fair.
we just don't know. We don't know
I
what it's
agree.
going to be.
I agree.
I think we know, but we don't yet know.
So that means we have the 3 combinations
So 5, 6, 7.
that have to be placed.
We've got Mangini, Quinn, which was not good.
That team started 1-11.
Didn't they win the last 5 games?
They won
or
the last
something?
4 games,
Yeah.
Then we've got
Shermer and McCoy.
Pat and Colt
They played against Charlie
and
Fry.
Chud
the
and
last 4.
Whedon. No, Chud and Whedon's already up there. Romeo and
Romeo
Charlie.
and Fry.
Romeo and Charlie, number 5. Let's
Romeo
go
and
with
Charlie, I think, is fair at number 5. I
Yep.
do, because they were awful.
that. Yep.
But it led to one of the most exciting Brown seasons
Then
ever.
Shermer McCoy is fine because there's been much worse than Colt McCoy. And then Mangini Quinn.
I think
Yeah, I'd
I'm
agree.
good with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Now, what we're going to do, the whole point of this exercise is to compare our awful 8 to
The MGM one.
MGM's awful 8.
So you ready to see MGM's official?
That's how bad we are. MGM is this, and they didn't have a hard. They found a 8.
Right.
They
They're
were
looking
awful.
for absolute
could've been many more, let's
low-hanging
be
fruit
honest.
social media material,
Sure.
and here we are.
Hey, UCS will take this bait, put it out there.
All right, this is MGM's list. This is how they had it ranked. Hugh Jackson and Deshaun Kaiser, number 1.
So we
which
got that
matched-
right.
I got that.
Oh, they've got Is that Mangini?
No, number 2
Oh, okay.
was Cornell and Charlie Fry, which we had at number 5.
Wow. Okay.
Big difference in that one. Number
Yeah.
3 was Mangini and Quinn.
We're way off there, too.
Number 4 was Pettine and Manziel, same spot we had them. 5 was the second Hugh Jackson. We had Hugh Jackson, RG3 at number 2. They had Hugh Jackson and RG3 at number 5. They had Chazinski and Whedon at 6.
Chud in that picture looks like one of my aunts when she was like 55 and she was going for a beach day.
They had Shermer and McCoy
Is that
at
even
11.
Chud? Where'd they get that picture?
That's Chud. Do you
Sometimes
guys know
forget
that
he was a
of
coach.
all the things that have gone on here, that we believe that Rob Jasinski is the only coach that's been fired by the Browns 3 times?
That's wild.
And he's
Because
probably still
he
on
was
payroll.
He was on Butch's staff as an assistant. He was
Oh, that's
fired.
right. Yeah,
he was
yeah.
brought back as the offensive coordinator under Romeo. He was fired, and he was the head coach. He was one and done. So we think he's the only one who's been fired 3 times. Other guys have been fired twice.
Do you know since 1970, the 2 Browns coaches that have winning records
As
as
coaches.
head coach? Yeah.
Marty?
Marty Schottenheimer,
Butch Davis.
No, Butch did
No,
not
not
have a
Butch,
winning
yeah.
record.
Greg
That's right.
Williams.
Would not.
I was gonna say we just talked about this.
That's where we are.
I don't.
That's where we are, kids.
So we had 3 of the same 8 in order.
Well, you know
of-
what? I think it was a
MGM.
hit for us because we got number 1 and number 8 right.
And that's all
And
that
to me,
matters.
2 through 7 is like alphabet soup. Like pick them.
Let's
Take
do
them.
it.
Alphabet soup has been sitting outside for a week.
You're splitting cyanide
With
pills at this
spoiled milk.
point. It's all the same
instead
thing.
Of water. All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we're going
High school
to talk high
football.
school football.